Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to return to Ellon in Aberdeenshire, which many of you of course will know is home to Brewdog, and we've got one of the beers, a special version actually of one of the ones that I reviewed for you back at Christmas time. So we're going to return to the Albino Squid Assassin, but this time we have the barrel aged version. So the original one came in a can, 7.2% Rye Pale Ale, but this version is the same beer, but it's been aged for 6 months in rye whiskey casks, and this guy comes in at 9.2%. It's rated 98 overall on Rate Beer and 95 within the style. A lot of people have told me this is one of the best Brewdog beers they've had in a while. I mean, Brewdog set very high standards for themselves in the beginning, and their beer is always pretty damn good quality, but every so often you get ones that come along and they really are just excellent beers. So I'm hoping this is one of these ones, because a lot of people have told me that this is a really nice beer. So very much looking forward to trying this one. We'll see how we get on with it. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. I've done many Brewdog reviews for you before, so it will be very brief. And if you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Brewdog reviews. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more reviews, do consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city or state. Do check out the whiskey and the sake reviews I've done as well, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers, breweries, sakes, whiskies and things that you guys would like me to check out. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and I thank you for your continued support. But anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brewdog, so these guys were founded back in 2007, and their first brewery was in the Keswick Industrial Estate in Fraserburgh in the very northeast corner of Scotland. James Watt and Martin Dickey at that time, of course, I think they were just out of university, and they only had a very small kind of industrial unit to brew their beers. But since then they've moved in 2012 to their very shiny new and purpose-built facility in Ellon, which is closer to the city of Aberdeen. These guys are known for being a kind of very experimental craft brewery. They're largely inspired by the sort of West Coast Californian beers. They often cite Stone Brewing Company as a big influence on them, in fact. So you can actually taste that in some of their beers, like the Punk IPA for example. They do market themselves primarily as an IPA brewery, although personally I would argue that these guys are very, very good at stouts as well. So some of my favourite beers I'd say is probably the Hardcore IPA. I like the Jackhammer as well. Those are two very good on the IPA side. On the darker side of things, I really like the Dogma and the Riptide. Those are probably my kind of 4 go-to beers from Brewdog, in fact. But ever since then, they've actually grown very, very fast. In 2010, they started their chain of pubs that they've got. This started with the Home Bar in Aberdeen in 2010. I was there on the opening night for that, actually. Don't remember so much of it right enough, so it must have been quite a good night. But since then, they've spread all throughout the rest of Scotland, down into England, over into Europe, and now they're far afield as Tokyo in Japan, and also Brazil. I think it's Sao Paulo down there. They're looking at Australia, Canada and America for expansions as well, so we'll see how we get on with that. But they're a very interesting brewery. They're actually the largest independently owned Scottish craft brewery today. Their Equity for Punk scheme gives them a very interesting business model too. Basically, fans of the brewery like you and I can buy shares in exchange for a discount in the store, and the actual bars and things like that. And this is how they funded a lot of their kind of infrastructure developments, and that's why they've grown so fast. They fund a lot of their bars with this. They've also funded their new brewery over in Columbus, Ohio in America with that. They've also funded the Lone Wolf Distillery, which is an extension that they've put in at the Ellon factory as well. So some interesting times ahead for Brewdog. I'm really looking forward to trying the things that come out of the distillery actually. I've heard the gins have been very good, although I'm not a big gin drinker, and the whiskies will come out in a couple of years. Of course, they need to age these first before they're actually released. So some exciting times ahead for Brewdog. They've got a very interesting business model for those of you that are studying business as well. So if you haven't tried some of their beers, I would recommend that you do. As I say, some of my personal favourites, Jackhammer, Hardcore, Riptide and Dogma. Those are kind of some of the classic ones that you should check out, and then check out these more experimental things that they do as well. So yeah, that's enough about Brewdog for the moment. You can check out the website in the description below and see if there's anything more coming out from them. They're always doing new beers, of course, so you can check that out. But let's actually get on to the tasting of this one itself. So as I always do, I'll just read out the little blurb for you. So this one says, barrel-aged Albino Squid Assassin. This bloodless assassin lies in wait, motionless in the deepest ink black depths. A lone sentinel and gatekeeper to an oak-aged booty, waiting silently for the perfect moment to unleash his arsenal. Prepare to be boarded. Full tilt rye whiskey character runs a shot across your bow. followed by a broadside of cinder, toffee and ripe fruit. The Assassin finishes you off with its trademark bitterness. A 21st century man o' war. The Assassin is coming to claim your soul. Enjoy this rare aged beast, and remember, dead man tell no tales. So yeah, quite interesting. I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork again for this one. It is actually similar. I think it is actually the same artwork that they had for the can version, the original one. As I say, the original one was 7.2%, this one is 9.2%. There is the bottle cap on this one, and I'll just tell you the specs of the beer as well. I do have it here. So this one is 9.2%, it's a red rye pale ale. It's actually listed on Rate Beer as an American strong ale, but it's hopped with Chinook, Citra and Magnum with a malt base of Carafa, Crystal, Dark Crystal, Extra Pale and Rye. And like I said, this guy is aged in rye whiskey casks for 6 months, so it should be pretty damn good. 98 overall on Rate Beer, 95 within the style, and like I say, a lot of people have told me this is a pretty damn good beer, so very much looking forward to it. So as you can see, a nice smoky opening in this one as we open it up, and we'll get it out and into the glass. And I tell you something, you can smell that nice rye character off this as you open it up. It just gives off that nice little bit. But it smells quite nice, so we'll have a look at it more in depth in a moment, of course. But as you can see, I'll just bring up the camera and check out how you're seeing it. Actually, you can see it's a nice kind of ruby-ish colour actually. Yeah, sort of ruby, almost coppery colour this one. You can smell some of the tropical fruits from the hops actually, just when you're moving it around a little bit. But it's a nice kind of reddish ruby colour there. I'm sure you can see that in the camera. There's a solid finger of a slightly beigey cream coloured head on this one actually. Some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head there, but it looks absolutely lovely. So we'll have a smell and see how we get on. Oh, that's interesting, you know. You can smell some of these grapefruity characters just underpinning this beer, but it's moved to be a bit more of a kind of red fruity ester that's coming out of this one. You can really get that character from it. It's got some kind of figs, raisins, plums sort of thing, but underneath that you can detect these sort of citrusy and almost grapefruity characters from those hops in this one. It's really interesting, but you can smell the nice, almost spicy malt base out of this. So when you sugar it up, you've got a bit more, you've got a big, almost kind of caramelly element coming off of this one. It's quite biscuity as well. The whole beer smells grainy, of course, because it's loaded up with rye. You can smell it's got that a little bit of that kind of typical vanilla woody character that you expect from barrel aged beers as well. Some nice kind of spicy notes as well. It smells lovely, this beer. There's a lot of complexity to this one. You can smell some of the floral kind of grassy things coming off these hops as well. There's a load of stuff going on in this beer. So yeah, let's just kind of do it systematically. So like I said, a nice caramel character, kind of toasted as well actually. Some kind of biscuity elements going on in there as well. You have that vanilla kind of oaky flavour coming out, or oaky aroma I should say. It's a bit spicy as well. You can get that sort of spiciness out of this one. Maybe a little bit bready too. But then you move on to the hop side of things. As I said, when you're a bit further away from it, it smells a bit more kind of red fruity, but you can pick up that sort of grapefruit character that's underpinning this one. There is maybe some kind of citrusy element to it as well, but you can see that it's also got some of these red fruit esters. To me it smells kind of quite sharp and juicy. It's almost like a kind of raisin or plummy character that's coming out of this one, rather than the figgy notes I think. And there's some grassy sort of floral things too. So there's a whole host of stuff going on in the aroma here. It smells really, really nice. It smells lovely. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one, because it is one of the more complex ones that you're going to come across from Brewdog. You can smell a little bit of the booze in there as well. So yeah, let's get stuck into this beer then. So this one is the barrel aged Albino Squid Assassin from Brewdog in Ellon up in Aberdeenshire here at home in Scotland. Slàinte. Oh yeah, that's good actually. I can see why that's quite highly rated. This is really interesting. I mean, when it comes to like a double IPA for example, I always like them when they've got a nice big caramelly base. This one does have that, but it's got that kind of spicy character from the barrel aging as well. When you age an IPA, and a double IPA at that, it can be really interesting actually. The first barrel aged IPA I had was actually from Japan, if I remember rightly. And that was really interesting because it was more juicy. This one actually still retains its kind of hoppy bitterness as well, but it's toned down a bit. Although everything is there, it's a very interesting combination, this beer actually. And I mean, the other Albino Squid Assassin they did, it was quite good, it was enjoyable. This one blows it out of the water, quite easily. Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah, so in the middle of your palate you've got this nice, almost slightly bready character just firming up the malt base there. There's some caramel sweetness, a bit of toasted character of course as well, but really that rye is the thing that's just holding everything together. You've got this nice spicy character just kind of underpinning this whole beer. I'm not really getting the vanilla that you can actually smell a little bit in this beer. I'm not getting too much of that, if any. But it does have some of that kind of nice whiskey-ish taste to it. It tastes lovely, this beer. But that rye graininess that's coming out of this one is lovely. The beer, I think, sweetens a bit more as it kind of as it progresses, as your mouth gets more used to the flavour. At the back corners of the palate, I think there's a little bit of earthiness to it, but as you come further forward, you can feel that nice sort of floral aromaticity from these hops. You can feel it's there. It's just toned down. It's nowhere near as kind of hoppy and bitter as some of the other Brewdog beers you're going to get, but it just kind of underpins the beer nicely. This one is interesting because it is, you know, that rye spicy character goes well with the slightly toned down floral aromatic hops. It almost comes across as being a little bit kind of herbal actually, just because the hops have dropped a little bit. But around the front of the tongue you can feel some of that bitterness in there. But it's really nice. This one isn't kind of punchy really in any regard, I would say. This one's more about how the flavours blend together, and it does that really, really well. Yeah. So just behind the front curve of the tongue there, you've got that nice little oily bubble where the fruit comes out. So as I said, it's kind of coming out similar to the aroma actually. You can feel a little bit of the grapefruit in there. There is some citrus. The grapefruit kind of has dropped quite a little bit from what I remember coming out of it originally. So you can feel that it's there, and you can also feel some of the kind of sharper citrus character too. But on top of that, there's a lot of these red fruity esters coming out of this one. It's not quite as sharp as you would expect from the aroma. You really can pick them up quite easily in the aroma, but they're a bit more dark and juicy, I would say. Yeah, I think it's a kind of raisiny or plummy aroma actually, or plummy flavour. I keep mixing that up, aroma and flavour, in this review today. But this is really nice. And in a way, I can see why it's been put across as an American strong ale actually, because it does have some of these characteristics, rather than being the kind of double IPA, although it is a rye pale ale. So it's quite interesting actually. I mean, the style of the beer, for me, I don't really care about the style of beer or who makes it. The point is whether it's a good beer or a bad beer. And you know, this is a very, very good beer. This is one of I can see why people are saying this is one of the really interesting ones that Brewdog have produced, because Brewdog beers, I find, they always tend to be quite punchy in one regard. Like, they really love their hops and things. This time they've taken a bit of a different approach to it, which is what makes this one interesting, because the hops have just dropped a little, and this one's more about how the kind of the flavours all blend together, and it works really, really well. So I hope Brewdog can kind of experiment a bit more like this and continue in this light. 2016, I have to admit, has been a really good year for them. I think some of the beers I've tried from Brewdog have been pretty top notch. But yeah, that's lovely. I can see what they mean. You do have, in the middle of your palate, you can pick up this kind of underlying sort of whiskey thing going on, and it is absolutely lovely. So yeah, check out this beer if you get the chance. I can see that the hype that people are having about this one, saying this is one of the better Brewdog beers they've had of late, that's true with this one. This is a good beer, very, very solid beer from Brewdog once again. Probably up in the kind of the upper echelons of what they've done, actually. I would say that about this one. They've done a lot of beers, so it's kind of hard to keep track, of course, but very, very solid beer. In terms of the mouthfeel, this one, I would say this one is fairly mid-bodied, maybe pushing the full-bodied thing, actually. It's quite oily, this one. I'm getting quite a bit of alcohol warmth from this one, which it mixes in well with the kind of, it must be the spicy character. There's a good spicy thing that's underlying this one. The hoppy bitterness isn't too much. The sweetness in the malt base is actually a little bit subdued in favour of the more spicy character that you're getting from the barrel aging, of course, and the rye itself. But this is a very, very good beer, a nice juicy fruity character in there as well. So yeah, make sure you have a go at this one. It's really quite good, and I can see the hype that people had about this one, saying it's one of the better Brewdog ones they've had. So make sure you check it out. But anyway, yeah, been really cool to review another Brewdog beer for you. This is one of the upper echelon Brewdog beers, I would say. So make sure you check it out if you get the chance. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are watching the videos. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. But most importantly, make sure you go and check out the barrel-aged Albino Squid Assassin from Brewdog. This is one of the best beers they've produced in quite a wee while, actually. I would say it's that good. So give it a go and see how you get on with this one. But 2016 generally has been a good year for Brewdog, I would say. So make sure you try some of their beers if you haven't already. Until the next time, Slanger just now, and I will catch you very soon. Cheers.